Welcome back. President Trump has made a mark on U.S. retail trends by selling his merchandise. That goes beyond campaign gear, includes sneakers, watches, and fragrances. But a U.S. president who has a foothold in fashion, well, that's not without precedent. Prior to working at the White House, Andrew Johnson, for example, was a renowned Tennessee tailor who even invented a popular variation on the Prince Albert style coat, which I will not be adding to my closet, by the way. And former President Harry Truman, known for having an unwaveringly neat appearance, owned a men's clothing store in Kansas City, Missouri, nearly 3 decades before taking office. Joining me now on the big screen in front of the family table, Summer Ann Lee, who I'm happy to say is the very first historian of presidential fashion I've had the pleasure to meet and talk to. Summer Ann Lee, it's great to have you with us. We think of President Trump, obviously, as a president, but also as a licensor and a merchandiser. Does that put him in a distinct category among presidents who've influenced American fashion?
Yes, absolutely. So what President Trump is doing is unprecedented in many ways. I'll start by saying that there is a long history of presidents' names and their likenesses being used in consumer products, including fashion. But what's notable is that historically that has been tied to campaigns, right? So a campaign that comes to mind that particularly was oversaturating the market was Eisenhower's 1952 campaign. There was so much fashion merchandise, from dresses and gloves and parasols and hosiery, that had Eisenhower's slogan, campaign slogan and likeness on them, that supporters could wear to show their enthusiasm for him as a candidate. But this is very different because here we have a sitting president who is monetizing off of his name while in office through things like Trump sneakers, Trump watches, and Trump fragrances that he has licensed.
So there are those who think of those consumers of Trump products as doing so as an expression of political identity. Might it also be true that there is a stylistic component that we ought to take somewhat seriously?
Yeah, absolutely. So Americans have always worn their politics on their sleeves, so to speak, and also emulating the president's image can be a part of this. We see as far back as in 1863, an Englishman who was visiting the United States observed that supporters of President Abraham Lincoln would grow beards and facial hair in Lincoln's image to show their support for the president and for the Union. We also saw during, to throw it back to Eisenhower, Dwight Eisenhower famously wore a Homburg hat to his inaugurations rather than the traditional top hat, and Washington, D.C. retailers could not keep the Homburg hat in stock or on shelves after this because of people who did want to emulate the president's image, right? So with President Trump, we do tend to see this first and foremost through people adopting, I believe, the red MAGA hat, which of course was campaign merchandise, but it was also, it's something that President Trump still continues to wear to this day. But even more than that, I think that Trump has projected for many decades now this personal branding, this personal image of luxury, wealth, right, conspicuous consumption. So I think in a lot of this merchandise, especially the collectible luxury goods like the sneakers, watches, and fragrances, supporters are able to feel like they're buying into a little bit of that image that Trump projects, that lifestyle.
Let me throw a couple of other names at you. Harry Truman, very sharp dresser. JFK, thought of as someone who influenced styles. And let's not leave out President Barack Obama and the very famous tan suit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, President Truman was, of course, a very sharp dresser, and he did co-own a men's haberdashery, or essentially a men's clothing store, in the 1920s before he was president. And he was most famous for popularizing the sports shirt, very loud, boldly patterned, casual shirts for men during the 50s. So that sort of became known as the Truman shirt. You brought up John F. Kennedy. The Kennedys, when they were in the White House, were really considered essentially American fashion plates. tights. They were so fashionable, and President Kennedy was the first president to be featured on the cover of GQ magazine. He was also considered a promoter of the American Ivy League style, two-button suits, and of course going bareheaded. And he was so youthful and so sophisticated that he really did help forge what we consider the American look to this day. And of course, you brought up President Obama and the infamous tan suit scandal. I think that President Obama's tan suit was in fact very fashionable, but it did come under ire at the time for critics were saying that it was too informal for him to wear at the White House.
Seems quaint now. Summer Ann Lee, presidential fashion historian. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.